Little background before I get into the review because I only saw the ads. I rarely remember the trailer. All I knew was going to be following the killer's POV, and I'm like, okay, studio logos. I'm expecting A24 and IFC films. Then it made me think, huh, I can't believe that they're still making movies after that one. That's weird to me. So, In a Violent Nature is a new horror movie, I can say, based on the perspective of the killer, where we're following this guy, Johnny, as he roams around the woods coming and I'm gonna just get this out of the way. It's basically Friday the 13th in a new perspective, but I'm just gonna say this. The way everything in this movie is told, I can appreciate for the fact that every single shot, frame, or aspect of this movie is just basically you behind the camera. Yes, everybody's following the killer as is. You're just basically looking at him rummaging around the woods, looking around in the environments, actually interacting with the things around him, and actually getting his victims in his own POV. One thing I can appreciate is the fact that, yes, I know there's going to be a lot of comparisons to Friday the 13th. I even mentioned it before in the beginning of this video. But the fact is that I know that this style of film is kind of interesting because I don't think we've seen anything. I know we've seen found footage do the same thing, but I'm not sure if we've actually seen a full movie actually be based around the killer, if you know what I'm saying. Not a killer as a main character or as the one who's actually has a motive, doing their own thing, actually support characters around him. But I don't think we've actually seen a movie actually follow a killer as he's going through his day, rummaging around, picking up weapons, and actually killing people one by one. I don't think we've ever seen that, and I can appreciate that this is one of those movies where I'm like, okay, I can just tone it out and actually follow the movie. And every little thing from the moment the movie starts up until where it ends, there's a point where I can say, so this whole movie is just basically this guy's day. Huh. Even the behind the scenes footage about this, because I know there's a fact that in every single horror movie and even movie in general, you have your main group of characters that are the ones that actually we follow. We see their storylines, the B plot, C plot, anything relating to the characters. And we see that in every aspect, that's basically flipped around from the opposite. We follow Johnny throughout this whole movie, and with all the killers, in fact, he's the one I feel like, huh, this is something I feel like people should actually take into inspiration with their horror villains. Instead of actually making them just human, just follow them and actually use them for their capabilities. Because some things I can appreciate in horror slashers nowadays is that, yes, we're back to old fashioned people with motives, people holding knives, and rather than confessing that, oh, I'm just neglectful, I'm just sad, and I'm mopey, and I just wanted to kill people. This guy just roaming around killing people as he goes, and I can appreciate the fact that this is somebody I'm like, huh, ruthless kills. I'll dig it. But with every good thing I'm praising about this movie, there is a bit of a downside to the fact that yes, we're following the killer, but there are some moments I'm like, okay, me knowing because I've seen a lot of movies do this thing where just because you have an interesting idea doesn't mean it's going to actually work out the way it's actually pitching itself to be. The movie is short, it's around maybe 90 minutes long, but the thing is that you're just following him around the woods. You're hearing his feet scrunch around the woods, and you're hearing no soundtrack, no score, no anything in the background. It's just him listening to nature as it is. And whenever you hear somebody talking, that's your cue to, oh, that's the next scene, that's the next kill. But to me, it's tension wise smart because you're not following a story. You're just seeing this guy kill people as he's going through his day. But I can appreciate the fact that even though there's no score, the tension is still, you feel the tension. You're like, oh man, what's he gonna do next? Ooh, how's this all gonna go down? But that's the emotion I'm feeling when I'm watching this. Another thing is that I don't understand whether it says it's the killer's POV, but there are some moments in this movie I've seen other movies try and do this thing where it's based on this person's POV, then suddenly the movie cuts and it's revolving around these other group of characters. Like, I know that there are people in this movie, like support characters, but the thing is that it would be interesting to see the fact that in every Friday the 13th movie I've seen, we know Jason is out there. We know he's out in the woods. But the thing is that there isn't a scene where I'm like, okay, we can see Jason looking at them. But in this movie, you see the camera cut, and it's not up until a point where it does this little one circle shot rummaging around the backstory of Johnny. And then you realize that, wait a minute, this is actually going on like a movie. and then suddenly it reverts back to the movie you're watching where you're like, oh, that's odd. It does that twice in this movie, but I feel like if it didn't do that and it stuck with just the killer looking in, because let's be honest, most of these guys can hear them from a mile away, and this movie actually makes it to the point where I'm like, it's kind of weird that this movie takes place in modern day and people can't hear this. And then I have to think about it. I'm like, you know what? It is kind of funny in modern day technology use. Most people aren't even around their can't hear anything based on their emotional surroundings. All I can say is that I had a good time with this movie. It is kind of an interesting concept story wise, but then again, it's like even though you have a good idea, let's see if most of the movie around it actually fills in with the story to hand. Because yes, I can appreciate the fact that this is based around the killer's POV, and from the trailer itself, I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool since we're just following this guy. But I don't know. I wish I could have done a little bit of soundtrack in the background. Yes, the movie kind of cuts to certain aspects between characters, but he's still in that shot. Just because he's not in that shot doesn't mean he's not seeing it. We're just seeing it from another perspective. Like I can just say that the camera could be behind me, then suddenly the camera switches to the other side, looking at me forward as he's in the background. But I don't understand why I would do that. But maybe just a way to cut around. Oh, it's the killer's POV, but we're seeing it from another person's perspective instead of him just going up to somebody, just snatching them one by one, and you're gonna just see everything from the back of his head. Like, I understand that, but hopefully the next time somebody tries to pull up this concept, it could actually work in this own way because I know we've seen other movies like Hardcore Henry 1917 do the basically whole movie that looks like it's one shot, but we're following this one person's perspective. It's been done before in other movies, but horror, I'm not sure if found footage counts, but I feel like if the next time somebody tries to pull off this concept or idea, hopefully they can try to master it with the horror genre. All I can say is that for in a violent nature, you can catch this on a Saturday morning and actually be fine with it. It's in select theaters right now at the moment. I don't know why it's not worldwide, but then again, I had to think about it. It's like most people don't go to movies that are this niche. But if I'm being honest, my audience dug it. Some people were actually old enough to watch it, like older, let's say, almost adult senior s people, because they're like, it looks like Friday the 13th, it resembles Friday the 13th, and they actually did enjoy it for what it was. All right, guys, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Have you seen In a Violent Nature? If not, let me know in the comments down below. What did you think of the movie? Because I'm seeing a lot of bit of divide because I went into it with the high hopes. It came out surprisingly good. I had a good time with it. But then again, after when I got home on the ride back, I'm like, huh, this is interesting. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. All my social media down in the description below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.